Well, here we are, and the boat is right side up, and it's actually balanced on its own keel, which was really nice to see. And you can see on the inside we've got the planks that have been Sikaflexed. You can see a little bit of that squeeze out. And then here's that stern post. No question that there's a little bit of Sikaflex in there. There's a little bit. You can see I've managed to get everything done approximately correctly, which is nice. And a little bit more work. You can see there's those two bolts that hold the scarf on the keel. See those two stainless steel carriage bolts. And actually, as we go to the front, you can also see the second pair of carriage bolts there. That hold the front part together. There's still more work to do, of course, inside, but it seems that things are looking up pretty good. And so the idea now will be to install ribs that go right across the whole keel. So, for example, this bay here, we would have a keel that would come up, or a rib rather, to about here, about, I don't know, about a third of the way, something like that. Not too much, because it's not really needed. It's just a question of keeping that keel organized. Anyway, so that's progress. It's late July now. It's, I think, the 30th or the 31st of July, 2010. And there's that stern. That turned out rather well. That turned out very well indeed. You can see that stern hangs way, way out, but it's nice looking. Here's the steam box, steam boiler just bubbling away. And here's a sample of success. You can see the strap here, and what I actually had to do, in addition to the little angle iron that holds the wood, it's a relatively exact dimension. What I actually had to do was to reinforce it with another little angle to give it strength so that it wouldn't lever off once you put a lot of tension on it. And you can see the form that I have. It's sort of the shape of the hull. Actually, it's a steeper bend than the shape of the hull, and so that means it's a little overbent, and that way when you actually install it, it should just open up and then just conform right nicely to the hull. And again, you can see here the angle iron on the top butting against the piece of wood, and then underneath the reinforcing angle. I found that little 3-inch piece of angle iron absolutely essential. Otherwise the thing would just want to slip off. once you put a lot of tension on it. So that seems to work. I don't get any fracturing. The strap seems to be really good in terms of putting this surface into compression once you start bending it. It really is a two-man job. Doing it yourself is kind of well, you're sort of rushed, put it like that. And at the end of it, you wonder, am I doing the right thing? But it seems to be working. You can see the strap there. And then over here, I actually have a couple of other experimental ribs that you can see. The one that's lighter colored, it's not been nailed in yet. It only goes up part way, and the same with the one down towards the stern. And those are again experimental. They could be done better, but I think with practice it should be okay. One of the other tricks that I learned from an older fella here, that he learned from folks out in Western Canada who were bending white oak for wagons and big farm wagons, Mennonites, horse-drawn wagons, that kind of stuff. Pre-soak the oak strips in a mixture of fabric softener. I use about 2.5, maybe 3 cups of fabric softener to 5 gallons. And actually what I did was to make myself a soaking tube rather than a great big bathtub. I actually got a tube that was long enough that it would contain all of the ribs, and then just filled that full of mixture, and then let it soak for 2 days actually. That seems to be the trick. And we take out the stop and reach in there. It's kind of warm. This is kind of what they look like when they come out of the steam box. They're brown, and you can see that this one is right in the midst of the steaming, so it's actually starting to get really good. I'm going to continue doing experiments and keeping the learning experience going here. There. It's fairly elementary, but would appear to work. The other rule is a lot of insulation around that steam business, because it really loses heat quickly, and you want it hot and wet. You don't want dry steam, you want really, really moist, wet steam. So this has been in the form 5 or 10 minutes now, and if I take it out, it'll spring back a little bit, but remember what I said, that it's a little overbent, so it should be about good. And since I can't operate the clamps and the camera simultaneously, you'll just have to imagine me taking those clamps off one by one.